Good afternoon, I'm Daniel Miller and this is Destiny Academy. A warm welcome to all of our friends, fans, community members, participants and everyone watching this broadcast on various platforms live worldwide. Thank you for joining us and thank you for being here with us today on this Saturday afternoon, which in fact in my local area is fortunately not as hot as we've had it during the last couple of weeks, and it has been very pleasant. Last night I went for a stroll after my swim and it was nippy. I went actually for the first time in my shorts and t-shirt and the weather changed. I didn't mind. It was a bit cold, but I much preferred it to the last couple of weeks where we were really suffering, and particularly where I live, the place gets really very, very hot during the day and impossible to sleep at night. So it was a very, very good respite. And today, guess what? It's cloudy, so perhaps we are going to be getting some rain. We are praying for this in view of all of that suffering during the last couple of weeks. I mean, I have to say that in this part of England, it is very, very rare that we get these kinds of tropical temperatures so early in June. It does happen sometimes. It usually stays here for a day or two, but actually we've been having a longer stretch, and compared to the last few months where it was literally raining every single day, we had huge amounts of humidity, so it made it even more unbearable with all that pollution coming directly to us from central London, and it makes it difficult for everyone. But today, as I said, a pleasant day. So hope that you are experiencing something similar in the place where you are, and hopefully everything in your local environment is not as heated, as unpleasant, or indeed as polluted. So what's everyone doing today? It is Saturday, and usually in Britain on Saturday afternoon people go out shopping. It's the first day where people feel a bit of respite, and I used to do it quite a lot in the old days. Used to go from the place where I lived to the very town centre, and it was always on Saturday afternoon from about 2 to 7, and we go out and buy a few things and then maybe have a drink, have something to eat, and have a bit of fun to get back. And that was the usual drill really for quite a few years, and a lot of people in my local town here do exactly the same, and it's very, very pleasant because we used to be one of the most popular market towns in this part of England for many centuries, and unfortunately the market's gone due to the multinationals, big shopping centres, and the way things changed since the 60s. And on Saturday we do get a bit of market. It's not massive, it's not as significant as it would have been years back, but we do get it, and there is some there are people out there offering various produce, and we can have some fresh vegetables, some fresh fruit, we can get some other products, like for instance one of those local bakeries brings out the bread and cakes and various other delicacies, so people can pick up and buy any of that on Saturdays, and that's really good, and the quality is very, very high, much better to what you get in Tesco's and Sainsbury's. So a few things on offer, and certainly a very, very pleasant Saturday for anyone who wants to socialise, meet their neighbours and friends. We still have a very much of a local community in here. Everybody knows each other, and that makes it really all nice and pleasant. In fact, yesterday when I went for a swim, I met one of our, say he's not a friend, but somebody who I know who lives in the local area, and on Sunday afternoon, we have a church which is in the local area called St Leonard's, and this is the oldest building in south of England. It's extraordinary because the parts of this building, the foundation, originate from the 10th century, so it's been there since the year of 950, That's extraordinary. So it's almost, it's 11 centuries ago. And it's elevated, it's on a hill, so no wonder that it's been built there, because obviously in the old days, the OPs, the observation points, were really very important for the local population, and you always had all kinds of hordes invading and trying to take things away from you. So the church is a significant monument to local history and everything that England's gone through since then. Don't forget, in the neighbouring area, if you played Valhalla, you would have actually learnt about this little game. In the neighbouring area between here and the town next door, there were some of the major battles at which the great King Alfred, the Saxon king, managed to defeat the Vikings and push them towards the north. So he actually liberated this part of England at a time, and made sure that England really was again coming back to its original inhabitants. Without getting deeper into the history and the various bits of trivia, the battles were taking place nearby, and you actually, in the old days, you could see those places from that church, from the hill. Anyway, the reason I'm telling you is that on Sundays we all meet there. We have like a local residents get together, and that's always very pleasant. Sadly, not many younger people pop in. We get lots of pensioners and people already reaching the golden age, but still we get enough time to talk, to discuss the local affairs, and talk about various charitable do's and activities which we are providing for our local community. You can have a cup of tea, you can have a cake, and it's really a very, very kind of old gen English type of affair. Garden parties, church gatherings, cups of teas on Saturdays. I used to go to Lambeth Palace, and this was quite a few years ago, many years ago, in fact a few decades ago, and the Lambeth Palace is basically the headquarters of the Church of England, and they had wonderful snacks and cakes and teas, and I used to go there with my mentor, who indeed was teaching me, all about history, about certain things which were associated with the crown, etc., etc. So it was a wonderful experience. Anyway, we are having this on Sunday, so I think on Sundays we'll have a different kind of stream. I won't be able to deliver it later in the day, so it will have to be quite early, and will have to be perhaps a bit different to the rest of the things that we do here, depending on our community participation and content. Obviously, we are going to be looking at perhaps some variety content or something that someone suggested, like for instance going through what's new on Xbox Game Pass, what's new on PlayStation Plus, the newbies new games and that sort of thing. Maybe we'll give you some ideas also through the gameplay. I'm just sort of talking live. I've not really decided yet. But the other thing is, I'm considering whether to do some of the streams on my laptop. So the streams would be, I guess, more of a walkthrough or some sort of introduction, as we are going to be able to watch and do certain things that are on the net instead of what we have here on the console. And I'll think about it and I'll consider it. Maybe have sometimes some sessions with our participants live online. They can obviously hook up with a video or anything they want. I'll play it by ear, but I want to really throw this to our community membership for people to say whether you'd be quite interested in having that sort of guide, what you have on other podcasts, where in fact you walk through what's new, and then we can just look at certain titles, certain information, maybe have a nice slideshow, that sort of thing, which I quite enjoy. Otherwise, sometimes it can feel a bit dry, but watching this and me just talking, and we'll work something out. Also, I'm considering whether to do some streams on a PC, and all of that is the kind of a genuine progression of what I've been doing for the last 5 years, because I think the tech is changing, and what we can do on the internet live is also evolving. On the other hand, we have new rules and regulations given to us, therefore we need to be adjusting. So there are a few opportunities for us to I guess branch out, try different things, and rope in some other community members and walk into somewhat different fields. Coming back to the charitable works, we get together on Sunday and then we discuss what's happening in the local area, what is being done and offered, and what sort of other events are taking place, what other charitable activities are to be offered to the local community. And that brings me back to, so it's every Sunday, and that's literally for the whole summer. Starts in early June, ends in October, and it's really absolutely right and proper, beautiful weather, and the church is actually providing a good shelter. It's quite cool in there when it's very, very hot outside. The church is not open to the public in general, so it's just on specific days, and there are particular events like concerts or specific religious events held there, but generally it's a bit like a monument, and belongs to the same parish with a big church on top of the hill called Holy Trinity, where we get regular mass events and everything else. Anyway, talking about charitable works, charitable foundations and charities in general, I've talked about this quite a bit throughout the week, also during my beta. I'm now aligned with Tiltify, and also I'm supporting several British charities, and presently be running a campaign for the charity called Mind. So Mind is a charity that provides professional services for people who are experiencing mental health issues or any other form of emotional pressure or difficulty. These are community-based services. They operate from offices. They have volunteers and professionals delivering counselling, individual and group that is, and anyone can register and ask for assistance. They're charitable, there's no fee, they're providing services in the community for those who are in the need. Sometimes there will be some statutory contributions if somebody wants to be doing something particular or over a very long period of time, and they also have advisors who can direct people to other services within our NHS or other institutions that can provide specialist help, like for instance for people who suffer from anorexia, which could be, or bulimia, which could be life-threatening, people who have problems with self-harm, and the list goes on. So it's a fantastic hub for any form of advice, support, or activity that is related to people who are experiencing mental health issues, and they're always open. They always provide that sort of service 24/7, 365 days a week. And I liaised with the charity in the past. I also had worked with lots of the patients in my career, and I'm always very delighted to be able to help. And this has been just an opportunity that has risen recently. I actually spotted it on Instagram, and Instagram had included Mind on their fundraising section. So you've seen that some people are doing some charitable fundraising on Instagram as well, and I've had it already for quite some time, so probably 6 months, on my film dialogue, also on the Daniel Miller Gaming Dialogue as well. So that's been the beginning of it all. Then I researched a bit, realized that Tiltify were offering it, and I actually got to know about this as I approached what are called Stream Elements for overlays, and then they connected me to Tiltify. That's well integrated within what they offer, and the overlays also include various charitable tabs, sections, and pop-ups, alerts, which can be always included. And this is I discovered that they have massively improved the charitable fundraising facilities through the platform, which in fact have become very kind of gamer oriented. The types of things on offer are very much tapping into the gamer's mindset. So you can have milestones, which is similar to when you have competitions on your channels, and then the milestones will have a quiz or poll also created. The poll will be questioning the community on what they want to be doing for a special community event that will be delivered or created live whilst the milestones are being reached. And then the community gets involved, they decide on what they'll do, and then we get that sort of special event which is dedicated to everyone who had contributed, and most important, the people who donated revenue for the charity. So I've got all of that up and running. It is on my channel, and you can easily access it by clicking the link. The link is on my about page, and obviously I post it a few times during my streams as well. Very, very important for everyone to support the charity, because there are many people out there in our community who are in desperate need, and the two big needs that we have at the moment in Britain are to do with housing. To start with, it's just absolutely abysmal. People can't get to rent properties, let alone buy, and we have millions of people who are stranded. So it's absolutely abysmal. It's catastrophic. It's the worst that I've seen in my lifetime. And we have lots of statutory services helping, but to get to a place which is going to be your permanent accommodation will take many years, and the conditions that are being erected by the private sector are completely unreasonable and absolutely discriminatory towards many of those who are seeking the alternative. So, it's a vicious circle. So there's another charity that also will support in the near future. It's a charity called Shelter, and they deal with the threat of homelessness and anything related to it. And another very, very important charity. So really, in terms of the need, Mind and Shelter are literally at the very front of those that are providing the most essential services. Because as you would imagine, if you're facing homelessness, and that doesn't mean that you're sleeping out on a street on a bench, what it means is, in legal terms, is that you're no longer able to rent or reside where you presently are. You lose either contract or residency or whatever you have in order to use the property where you are, and you have to be looking for something new, and you have to go into the private market, which is extraordinarily expensive in Britain. It's just astronomically high priced, and most people find that to be like a brick wall. They can't get in. There's no way through which they can get to be given that new contract. So particularly younger people and those who are of working age but perhaps on a low wage or with larger families are experiencing this huge difficulty. It's a major threat because you have only a limited number of days and months to which you can complete the relocation, and if you do not do that, then obviously you are facing homelessness, and then you have to go to local authorities and they will provide you with services that will prevent it. But just think about the stress, think about the terror that is facing those families and those people continuously if they're being facing or if they're being threatened by this. We are going to have a selection of new laws introduced that will prevent the owners of the properties or agencies representing to be evicting people unreasonably or without a good reason, and there's a whole selection of new clauses that will be working in the favour of the person who is a resident, a legally residing resident. But still, it'll take a bit of time to make all of that active. But even with that new selection of laws, we still are going to have these kinds of threats and pressures for people who find themselves in a difficult situation financially, because ultimately, the properties and the rental has to be paid. And if somebody is not able to earn enough money, or indeed if all the bills, which are so high at the moment, affecting everyone, are just simply cutting into the budget and making it difficult to decide between the energy bills or food or something they have to provide for the children, obviously, to have them, and it's a nightmare situation. And it's not something that is affecting a tiny little bit of our citizens. It's just affecting everyone. The vast majority of people who live in our big cities are feeling a huge amount of pressure due to this, and that leads to the other, which is mental health problems. If somebody is under huge stress for a period of time, not everyone can cope with it. Some people resort to drinking, some people resort to being just not happy with anything, and other people are more inclined to withdraw, so they refrain from social contact, and all of that is then affecting their mental health very, very severely, and therefore eventually they go to Mind in order to get help. And we don't have long-term services attached to hospitals and clinics. They're all very interventionist, very short-term. I've worked for many years in the sector, so I can tell you that in the past we've had many, many different services provided for those needs, be it very short, medium, or very lengthy. But today that's all gone, and the support that is being provided is primarily through various charities offering those services, and obviously we want to be supporting them as much as possible. Anyway, that's a bit of a rundown on what's happening in our country, which you do not see here on the BBC or Sky News, and get some news about it, but I don't think they are really as true to call as they should be, and they're not presenting the figures, and they're not seeing what we are seeing, that people who are in work, people who work at local Tesco's and Sainsbury's, go to the food banks because their bills are so high. Obviously they earn their salaries, but they can't pay all the bills, and they are then trying to save by not eating or not purchasing food, or cutting corners elsewhere within their budget, and then they go to the food banks in order to get some food which will be used for the basic needs, either of theirs or their children. And I find that to be really shameful I find that to be absolutely detestable, and I've got a serious problem with it, because what we are literally proud of in our life is being able to work and being able to achieve. And then you work, you achieve, but still you can't pay your bills. That just doesn't go together. There is something wrong in there. And without actually blaming anyone, without pointing a finger, I think what we have at present needs to change radically to, first of all, eradicate that sort of situation, so we do not have that threat falling on so many different people in our country. And we don't want young families with children to be threatened with homelessness and facing these kinds of emotional terrors. Anyway, Mind and Shelter will help, and just remember, keep those charities in your mind. If you've heard of anyone who is an associate, friend, relative, somebody you know in a local community, make sure you point your finger, send them over there, and they will help as much as they can. Those services are under huge pressure, and they have huge kind of internal restrictions in terms of what they can manage due to the limited number of human resources in particular. And therefore any form of support, raising the profile, getting involved, talking about it on various social networking platforms, posting the news, asking people to contribute, donating, doing something like getting involved with charitable fundraising, or doing street-based or any other types of events that are associated with these charities, will help immensely. Greater the awareness, better the capacity for change, and obviously they'll be able to get some revenue and support, and therefore the human resources will flourish. They'll have more people involved, and therefore they'll be able to provide more services for those who are in the need. Coming back to the channel, this channel is all about providing services for those who are in the need, and that is targeting the gamer community and people who are otherwise solitary gamers. They can come in here, they can get fully involved, and we talk about everything. We talk about gaming, we talk about Destiny, we talk about everything else going on out in the industry, and also we talk about contemporary issues. So therefore nobody will ever feel alone in here. Our community members are very user-friendly, polite, amicable, attentive, and want to help, and always give enough time and respect to everyone who's joining us. Anyone who's new, somebody who wants to learn about Destiny, somebody who wants to learn about other games. And as you've seen during the pandemic, I had a very successful support group, which is a COVID support group. I called it anti-COVID group, meaning we battled against COVID, or COVID protection group, or whatever. And we had many people coming in who were experiencing difficulties due to the lockdown and the unbelievably difficult conditions which all of us find ourselves in Britain and worldwide. A very busy, very vibrant group, which was spread between two different forums. One was attached to Destiny, the other, I would say even a greater group, was attached to Warzone. Warzone was a very popular game at the time, because obviously being in combat, doing the game, being in a military simulation sort of activity, you are being actively involved in a battle. Destiny is more of a fantasy-based game, but Warzone is quite close to real life, and in many ways, not in all ways, but people really enjoyed being there and having a squad excuse me, that fought against all of those threats and unpredictable developments. It was very successful, and I still get messages of support and thanks coming from various participants. I'm very grateful, and obviously everyone will always come back if we are to be running something similar. Right, so that's a bit about the channel, the charities, what's happening here in my nearby area. There's a few things I want to tell you. I think it's very important that on Friday, maybe on Saturday, we think of different platforms in terms of video gaming, and we consider what is offered to the gamers for free, or what we can be exploring as the new content. Because both platforms, PlayStation and Xbox, are offering freebies and newbies, and they're trying to compete in terms of what is being offered and given as more exciting for them to be obviously coming back to the platform, using the console, gaming with others, and sticking to that console. I think PlayStation is still a bit sort of old-fashioned. They're still resorting to the old ways. And Steam accepted that the future is in cross-platform. They will want people to come to Xbox first in order to experience a new game or new product, and then they can diversify and branch out through their products, services and accessories. And they're making it possible and open for various games to be accessible through a variety of different platforms, and they built The cloud system, which perhaps you are not fully familiar with, is also shared and used by PlayStation. They did have a deal a little while back to which Microsoft was to provide them with the cloud services, because the previous cloud services that PlayStation used had not really performed too well. There were problems on PlayStation. I used it already for probably 7-8 years, and I was not happy with the issues that were attached to so many different games, and that was to do with the games that were streamable. PS Now services were not allowing most games to be downloadable, so you couldn't really put them on your console. Therefore, you had to do the streaming, and the streaming was not particularly good. I'm not saying that it was abysmal, but I did have some serious problems with freezing and non-responsiveness of the character to my controls, and various other issues. So the new service that's been launched last September is much better. It works definitely very well, and there are many more titles included. They've basically combined the gold and oldies, and I particularly like the fact that they're including quite a few PlayStation 1 games in the library, and you have then access to Siphon Filter, for instance, or Primal, the games I played quite a lot at the time. They have the Silent Hill sequel, and there's quite a selection. Lots of Japanese games as well. They obviously emphasize some of those that were previously inaccessible on other platforms and in other markets. And really, with the new pack, there's quite a selection of titles that have not been easily played anywhere in Britain due to the fact they were available in Japan. So I'm not really familiar with this title, so I can't give you all the details. We need to research it. But I've watched a podcast recently where a couple of guys were praising the fact that PlayStation is keeping this in mind. Also, they've been introducing some heavyweights, and I'll tell you in a moment about which heavyweights these are. And that's always very, very greatly appreciated when you have something like, Death Stranding or Valhalla or Cyberpunk or Far Cry coming in on short notice without any announcements is creating a huge amount of excitement. Don't forget that many of these games on PlayStation Plus and on Game Pass will be time limiting, and time limited, I want to say, and that means that you will have to play them up to a certain date. I think on both those platforms they're not telling you when the exit date really is, so it's for the obvious reason. They don't want people to have that sense of urgency, to download as many times as possible, to play the game as early as possible, etc. So these services, I think, I will be introducing over the weekends, and we'll be considering the titles and the games that are being offered to us. Xbox does it, I think, a tiny bit better. We have new games every week offered for free, and that's usually between 2 to about 5 games, and sometimes they are the games that are accessible through the Game Pass. So that's obviously of no interest to me or anyone else who's on the Ultimate, because we can access them at all times. And at other times, like for instance this week, we get the information, we get the games that are not on the Game Pass. So that is obviously very, very beneficial. We can download and play these games at will and get a very, very good introduction. Like Jeff Rubinstein says, you will not be able to finish some of these games within one weekend because they're so lengthy and there's so much content. But it's a very good introduction. It's better than what you have on PlayStation with freebies, like free trials. Lots of games will offer you 1 to 3 hours of a trial, so it depends on the game. If you're playing a platformer that has swift action from the word go, then that's fine. But you get into games like Far Cry 6 or Cyberpunk, you're not even scratching the surface. Within a couple of hours, you will be still doing your customization because there's so many different things to do. And either way, I think having the opportunity to try a game before you purchase it is of huge benefit, and I absolutely support this. I find that to be a tremendous kind of benefit and asset to us all. I remember the old days where I always had to buy a game in order to play, and there weren't that many games around either. There was few titles, and we would be so excited. We always bought magazines. Weekly, monthly magazines were giving you the list of games that were to come out within the forthcoming 30 to 90 days, and there was this excitement. You will go to that shop, you get a big box, you talk to people who work there who knew everything about games, you brought it back home, you used it on your PC, and then you cracked on. The only problem there was that frequently the games will not work on your PC. So it's a PC game, you bought it in the shop, got back home, loaded it, and it didn't work. And this was the early internet days, so there weren't any updates or patches, which meant you needed to buy a new computer which was compatible with the game, and that itself was almost impossible. And that drew me to consoles. I was a PC gamer from about 92 to about what was it, 96, 97, when the first PlayStation came out, and it was so easy. Get the disc, stick it in, everything worked, no hassle. I bought God knows how many games that didn't work on my computer. Go back to the shop and say, what is going on? I bought this game, don't I? Well, it's just the way things are. The tech was not as advanced as it is today. So consoles gave us the opportunity. That was the sole reason as to why there was such huge popularity of PlayStation straight away. It took the world by storm. It was just incredible. And in those days, you could even go to video libraries, and instead of hiring a video, you could actually hire a PlayStation 1 and a couple of games to play for a weekend or for a week. And you had to pay a deposit. I remember paying quite a hefty deposit for the console in order to try it. And brought it home, tried it. Huge fun. Played it with my brother-in-law and a few other people. And then in no time I bought it and had my own games, and it was just fantastic. Also in those days, I had everything excuse me, I had everything connected to my LCD projector, and for many of my associates and colleagues this was like a sensational view. You come to my home and you plug in PlayStation, and then there's Silent Hill, Resident Evil, this massive big screen. I lived in a Victorian building with big rooms, massive big screen. It's like in a cinema, and they were all absolutely in awe of this. In addition to that, I had 12 speakers which were connected to the projector. So we didn't have AC3, Dolby Digital as this today. We had so-called Dolby Pro Logic, and you had 3 channels. So it was left, right, 4 channels, left, right, center, and back, and also left, right at the back. So really, when you connected it and when you played these games, they were so scary. And I talked about this here on my broadcast several times. We had one session with Silent Hill, and it was actually chosen. I had a selection of games, and I asked people who came to us, friends and associates, colleagues, what would you like to play? And I thought they'd probably like to play something simple, something like Super Mario, one of those. And they just went for that Silent Hill. Everyone would be scared. I said, well, don't really tease the devil, because that's going to be really scary. And when you have to walk through that fog, and when you hear the creatures flying about, you're from behind you. We really want to try that. We're really excited, and there were a few friends that got really scared, and they just run away because it was so scary. In fact, there was one friend saying that she was having really bad dreams after. So that's not the reason names. We don't want people to have bad dreams, but you had insisted on that sort of experience. And as you know, Silent Hill, the original game, is the best in the series and is the most scary. It really was absolutely petrifying, and if you watch it on a small box with poor quality sound, it wasn't giving you the same experience. But I questioned the idea of not video, but the virtual reality being applied to the games like that, because it's unbelievably scary with the sound and the quality that we have today. And apparently today, I've read an article, I think it was on Game Rant, indicating that virtual reality for horror genre is by far the most popular. 95% of the gamers on VR want to be playing horror games. That defies logic. Do really people want to be scared as much at all times? It's very, very scary. And the games like State of Decay, for instance, it's Resident Evil, or Resident Evil 4 now, the remastered one. It's incredibly scary when you get that chainsaw the maniac chasing you about. And I've seen Texas Chainsaws coming out also on Xbox Game Pass. These games are unbelievably frightening if you're watching them in that sort of virtual reality environment, and I would certainly advise people to be careful with the choices. Anyway, this was then, and that is when my love for the consoles had begun, and I stayed with both PlayStation and Xbox ever since. Xbox came out a few years later. I did have PlayStation for about 5 years before the Xbox original came out, and for all of you who are younger viewers, you will not remember that. You weren't there at that time. Xbox came out, the original, with about 5 titles, and there was one big title, and that was Halo Combat Evolved. It was like a major title, AAA blockbuster, fantastic. And that was the title that had the multiplayer attached to it. So you were able to use Xbox Live Gold straight away, and you could then play the multiplayer, which was similar to what you would have had with PC games. And some of the games on PlayStation, the difference was that for the PlayStation, that was the PlayStation 2, you had to be buying a special adapter. There was a special selection of accessories that you had to be purchasing in order to connect it to the console, then to your internet. And it was expensive, it was costly, yet the original Xbox console had everything integrated, no extra costs. And this is one of the sole reasons as to why, in addition to obviously high quality content, Halo took off massively as it came out, and became a huge hit ever since. And the first, correct me if I'm mistaken, I think it was between 8 and 12 months, there was hardly anything else to play on Xbox. It was just Halo. So Halo generated huge numbers of followers and gamers, and it just evolved with the sequel and with the third part. It was just like progressing, and it was just greatly loved and adored. And I had lots of fun with Halo and Xbox Original. So things have diversified since. We had no streaming services at the time, and today it's so easy to just step in and try any game you want at any time, which I think is absolutely astonishing. And to be able to try so many games, I'm subscribed to both the services, and that means I can access up to about 1,000 games at any time. That includes demos and freebies and all sorts. Just think about it, on one subscription price. And it costs me, let me think, it's 13, 10. It's about £23 a month, so that's about 25 euros. And through the Microsoft rewards points, I get the freebie for my subscription to the Ultimate and the Game Pass when I collect 12,000 points, which in fact I worked out a system for which I can do this almost every month. You've got to be diligent, you've got to do it across all of the platforms every single day, and you've got to be obviously playing lots of different games, and in order to generate that number of experience, the rewards points, 12,000 rewards points gives you 1 month free of the Ultimate subscription. That includes the Game Pass as well. So I've got to say that in the course of this year, I only paid about once or twice. The rest of it was just covered by the rewards points. This is a fantastic value. It's phenomenal, and I can't understand for the life of me as to why there are people who are having a serious problem with it. They have got to be coming from the industry, and they've got to be connected to the competitors who are obviously suffering financially due to that sort of service. I'm not really sure what the problem, the exact factual problem there is, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I can say that the streaming services brought me back to gaming in a big way. I've tried many games that previously I would have not even noticed. I learn about every new games every single day. You'll see, for instance, that the game that I highlighted, Lies of P, that I haven't heard of before the Saturday or Friday presentation of last week, part of Summer Games Festival, had offered the demo, and they said that there are already more than a few million people. I'll give you the exact number shortly because I've got it on my Twitter. Just bear with me. Let me just have a look at the stats. I've seen it early on. Just bear with me. Just absolutely astonishing figures. Let me see. Yeah. So it's been officially announced yesterday that more than 1 million people have been downloading the demo, and this is just unbelievably successful for the new game. But I'm not surprised, because the trailer was incredible. It was mouth-watering, visually curiosity provoking, with the fable, with the story, and the way it's been introduced. The game that people not really heard of, and they played perhaps Requiem, Tale, Plague's Tale, and other similar games that bring us back to the medieval France. It's just a must, and therefore the demo is out. People are downloading it and absolutely enjoying it. So it's just absolutely phenomenal. And it says here, 170,000 people already watched the game on Twitch as it's been streamed, basically the demo, and top 3 Twitter trends worldwide. So that's a huge success for a new title, and I really look forward to, first of all, playing the demo. I mean, I'm a guilty party in here. I told you I will download it straight away, but I've been just literally snowed under with so many different things coming out of that Summer Game Festival that I'm not even sure where to start. Several games to be downloaded to my smartphone to be tried, and that includes the beta tests of several games, and demos to be downloaded on my consoles, and need to try them, to have a look at the games, and there's been very, very little time. So certainly I have a lot of different games on offer, and I really look forward to trying them. Just bear with me, I'm getting some messages, so just to look at this. Yeah, so that's just absolutely astonishing to learn that there are so many different people interested in the game, and this is what we actually want to see. Coming back to my description of freebie and access over weekend that the Xbox is offering, and also some of the free games on PlayStation, what I want to be introducing to everyone is the sheer versatility of different types of titles, so many different things on offer. And also what is incredibly important is that we have that choice to choose a game that we are really interested in, and we have a game for every single type of emotion that is upon us. We feel happy, we play this one; we feel a bit under the weather, we play that one. And what's important is to be engaging with what is being given to us, as indeed these games are offering us a huge amount of joy, first of all, and an opportunity to connect with other people, with other gamers worldwide, if you're running them through Twitch channels, or indeed if you're just doing some multiplayers, like for instance with Warzone and Apex. And we can all build these types of very vibrant, very active, very powerful communities that are giving us a huge amount of power. I think if there is one thing that I'm certainly taking away from my gaming activity in the last 5 years, is the sheer power that the community has. Like dealing with certain issues. Give an example: if you are doing Warzone and you have, let's say, 50 people participating, 4 are in a squad, other people from the regiment, from the same clan, are watching, and you have somebody coming in through the random selection, or somebody coming in, on Twitch, just trying to throw in some comments which appear to be very unfriendly. The power of the whole group of people to deal with this issue is absolutely phenomenal. It just changes everything immediately, and that itself is remarkable. And we've got to be always thinking of that power to be used for something that is going to be bringing a positive change in any situation. Doesn't matter whether it's related to gaming, our environment, global warming, mental health, or anything else. So keep this in mind. Very, very important. I've got this experience and the degree of awareness that was previously not present in me, due to the fact that I have been involved with so many different forums during the last 6 years, and I'm truly delighted. I feel honoured to have experienced it, because this is something new. These forums have been created recently; they've not been run for long, and they're evolving rapidly. So we've seen during the pandemic the escalation of the numbers from 2 billion people to billion. So that's not million, it's billion. We've kind of gone towards 4 billion people getting engaged with the video gaming world. And during the pandemic, we've had so many different services offered for free in order for people to communicate and connect, and that has been hugely beneficial, because some people are a bit resistant, a bit prejudicial, they're not interested in that sort of thing before, but after they tried it, they realized the benefits. In fact, yesterday I talked to 2 people who are very, very critical and very skeptical about video games overall, and I told them about the importance of the application of video gaming in education and also in therapeutic environments, certainly to do with disability and mental health, and explain to them how this is so massively developing in the US in particular. And we've seen some really empirical evidence that it can really help people with certain disabilities or indeed educationally. And they're kind of swayed. They believe that maybe that's something that is completely new, because they've just thought about Duke Nukem, so to speak, environment, and that's not the way the games are. Duke Nukem is just one of them, right? For all of you who are not familiar, Duke Nukem was one of the most popular shooters in, I think it was in the early 90s, and throughout the 90s. So it's that sort of idea. It's all about shooting. It's all about killing. It's all about violence. But that's not the way it is. And we know this if we are avid, dedicated gamers. So coming back to the platforms, I'll tell you what freebies we are to be getting. So let me just have a look. I've got first of all, Xbox have been confirming some new games for the Game Pass, and Game Pass is offering you a fantastic opportunity to try out so many different games, many AAA blockbusters. They integrated EA Play together with their own platform. So you have Bethesda games, all of them, the big ones, accessible free of charge on a subscription. You have EA games, they include Battlefield series, they include Dragon Age, they include Mass Effect series, etc., etc. The list just goes on. These are the big ones. And we obviously have heard everything about these games. We know how great they are, they're played by millions of people worldwide, etc. But the greatest benefit of being on the Game Pass is that you are being given a very large number of obscure games that you've not heard of, the games that have not been marketed anywhere, and coming from the indie developers, where you can just step in, try the game. These games are not particularly long, so they can be easily fitted in with any of the AAA blockbusters, because at the end of the day, I think most of us would play just one or two big blockbusters over a period of time before we complete. Otherwise, it's impossible to follow the story and everything else. It happens to me sometimes if I'm checking out several games. I get sort of carried away. I try it out, and then I find, that game's really interesting, so I play it quite a bit, and then later I completely forget all about it, and that is what I do not like. But it says more about myself. It does say more things about myself than otherwise. So I would advise you against doing it. Always use cloud services for quick checkouts. So just having a look at what the game's like, where to get a good flavour of it. And I played one game yesterday, which has just been introduced to the Game Pass, and it is incredible. It looks like watercolors, so well designed, so beautifully created, such a good story. You could see that the developer didn't have a lot of revenue, so the graphics are very beautiful, yet they're not on the level of Far Cry or so, the big blockbusters. But it's the story and it's the visuals that grab you straight away, and just the way it is created, the way it's sort of telling the story is fairly unique. So that's one of the greatest benefits. And just make sure that every week you go to that tab on the app that tells you recently added, and it's chronological, so you'll see what they've been adding in the course of that month, and you can always check out these games. I most highly recommend people to use, because I was in the past also skeptical about the indie developers. I don't know, waste my time really trying out different things, particularly before these games were not streamable, before we had these subscription-based services, because I didn't want to pay 20 or 30 pounds for such a game. But the difference today is you can actually get to know about it as easily as possible. Click on that cloud, watch it straight away, try it out, and then you can ping it to the play later if you wish to access the game at a later date. So what they will be introducing this within the next month is, I think, the selection of 11 more games. And we have Lamplighters League, we have Tectonica, Little Kitty Big City, Another Crab's Treasure, Galactic Care, The Wandering Village, The Bookwalker, Harold Halibut, Neon White, Minica's Night Market, and Sea of Stars. And it's quite a selection. I think one of the most popular is Another Crab's Treasure. So that is like a small funny action RPG starring a crab that can use a variety of different items as its shell. And you have some weird elements in it which are reminding you of Dark Souls, and then you have some very, very difficult bosses to contest in there. And so it'd be enjoyable for people who like the old style games that are slightly pixelated and with the old style graphics. At the same time, you will get the difficult bosses and Dark Souls like atmosphere. So it's the merger of the two. Definitely a very, very much worth a look. Sea of Stars is the other, and that's turn-based RPG for you guys who like Wastelanders or XCOM. And you have major influences, and the influences that come to mind are Chrono Tiger and some of the other ones of the same kind. And all of that game's going to be released on the August 29th, so it's not really imminent. Neon White is also available already available on PC and Switch and PlayStation, so it is sort of a later arrival to the Game Pass. That will be included as well. And this is a fast-paced FPS, and it's all about speeding through various levels as quickly as possible using a card-based weapon system. They had a very good game recently called Hi-Fi Rush, introduced as huge critical acclaim. The game that's not using cards but musical instruments and music in order to progress down the route of the story missions and its narrative. It's a fantastic game. I highly recommend it to everyone. If you like the manga and Japanese style, fast-paced, colorful, cartoon-like games, well, that's going to be definitely a cup of tea. And just lots of funny dialogue and many activities, different types of fights, and the unusual concept. I've not seen much of that in the past, so really very highly recommend it to everyone. Then what else do we have here? We have Lamplighters League, I mentioned it already. So that's a tactics game which is focused on fighting really weird monsters, and then you need to be finding certain artifacts, and that's just basically like a massive big adventure that you are going to be playing. And they've talked about it previously, but it is going to be arriving on the Game Pass on October the 3rd. And these games were talked about during the ID showcase, and definitely very, very much of interest. And I really look forward to it. Just having a look at something else. Yeah, we can actually see the games that are going to be launched on day one. And I want to really stress the fact that the reason we're not having any major heavyweights introduced at the moment on the Game Pass, but Forza, I think Forza is going to be coming out fairly soon. I've got the date in my notebook, but not really that important at this moment. The reason for that is there are some very big heavyweights coming out of Xbox within the next quarter, and the biggest one of all is Starfield. So they don't want the attention to be diverted to other titles, because there's huge anticipation after that Viddoc, and there's a huge amount of hype and excitement about the title, about all that we've seen so far, and that itself is definitely not going to be then tarnished by other games coming in and perhaps taking away certain amount of attention. So we are really looking at quite a number of indie games being introduced, and Starfield being one of the biggest heavyweights that Xbox and Bethesda had ever released. Probably one of the most complex games, according to the descriptions, that is, ever created. That is certainly very exciting. So I've got a list here of the Xbox games that have been showcased, and that will be appearing on the platform on day one. So just consider if you want to play these games without any extra expenditure, and they will be costing you between £50-60 to about £100 depending on the edition you wish to acquire. Just subscribe and try it maybe for £1. You get first month on £1, and why not try it and find out for yourself. I'm one of those firm believers in the future of the streaming services for video gaming, in the same way as I'm a firm believer in the streaming services for films. I face huge opposition amongst my friends and colleagues who are absolutely opposing the idea that people will be watching things on the box rather than on the big screen in cinema. But the fact is, I'm a person who had to watch lots of crummy old prints on 35 and 16mm, even on 9.5 and 8, Super 8 and Standard 8, etc. And I didn't have access to the titles. We sometimes waited for certain titles to emerge for 20 or 30 years, 70 years sometimes. The titles were not accessible. So having access to so many different titles that go back in history is truly astonishing. It is incredibly, incredibly rewarding, first of all, to be able to see them, and then secondly, to work, if you're a researcher, with all these different types of films that you can access at any time. Yeah. I mean, I'm a person who's using the BFI library and the MediaTek services, and for instance, the way they organize it is on the MediaTek, which is like it's like their own YouTube channel. You know, it's their own streaming service of the British Film Institute. It's based at the headquarters of the BFI, which is on Sidebank in London. And what they've got on the MediaTek is significantly different, the content-wise, compared to what they have on their streaming services, the BFI player that people subscribe to and pay monies for. So on the MediaTek, there is a huge amount of footage and material that's related to British film history and film history in general. So there's interviews, clips, and documentaries, the BBC programs, and not just the BBC, but programs from all around the world. For instance, they have, if you're a fan of Alfred Hitchcock, they have quite a selection of films that he made with Graham Cutts, the other director, in the 1920s in Germany before he released his first film. And some of these films were recently discovered, all of them are recently restored, and it was a true delight to be able to see them. Just like one example of the benefit through which you are going to be able to access straight away if you're a researcher, if you're a film fan, somebody who's a dedicated scholar of film history. And then you want to research these films. Graham Cutts, that is. Hitchcock worked for him. He was a well-known director in the 1920s, the British film director. You go just literally across the hall. You can see it from the MediaTek to the library, and you get books there. It's the best film library in the world. They have phenomenal selection of books and periodicals. I don't think there's any other library anywhere that can surpass it, because it is a how to put it. It's not compartmentalized. It does have the knowledge on any section of the film industry anywhere around the world, and the books are like that. It's a huge selection of books and periodicals. Many of those you will have to be reserving via the catalogue in order to be able to access, because they're not kept on shelves. They'll be brought from the vaults, basically from the archive, and you watch that there, and then you go to the library and you do the research. It's just a done deal. It's just absolutely extraordinary that you can do that. For us in the old days, it would have taken many, many years before you were able to get some basic information on such films, let alone watch them. So I don't know what the problem is. It's just people are creatures of habit, and they resort to the old. And it's also, I have quite a number of my very good friends. They're very sort of the older gentlemen, people who went to cinema since the Second World War, and they don't want to watch anything on the digital, right? So they want to watch everything on 35-16mm, and they oppose the idea of the digital. Well, however hard they may be opposing the new medium, that is the future, and that's just the way it is. And I find it astonishing that recently they've been running a small festival called Film on Film at the BFI, which was reasonably well attended. And the members of the younger generation are discovering what films actually look like when you watch them on 35 or 16mm. And for me, who had seen countless titles on those formats, that's quite astonishing. And I've got to say, I much prefer watching the same films properly digitally remastered on the digital, because they just look and sound better. Obviously, if you have a proper 35mm print, which has been remastered and is in pristine condition, that's a different story. But still, the advances that have taken place in the last 15 years have made it possible. What I'm telling you is that is affecting the industry across the board. Film, entertainment, music, and video gaming industry altogether. And the future of video gaming will be in direct access. It's going to be instant access and direct access through the servers. That is the future. And whether people like it or not, that is the way it is going to be. That is the way it's going to continue. Anyway, coming back to Xbox Game Pass and the showcase and everything else, I'll tell you the games that are going to be coming out on day one, and quite a few of these are heavyweights. They're AAA blockbusters. So you have Starfield, which is the biggest game to come out of Xbox Studios altogether, not just today, but in the last 20 years. And then have Forza Motorsport. We've seen the trailers and they look absolutely amazing. Again, day one. Senua's Saga Hellblade. You probably played the game and you've seen it. that's the game that blends in with our new creed here, which is Games for Mental Health. That's the game that tackles the person who is experiencing severe mental illness, and the way they've done it is terrifying. I think anyone who worked in the field will tell you, well, that's the game that actually hits the nail on the head, because that is the way it looks to a person who's suffering from these kinds of thought and emotion interferences. And you know, it's a game that looks absolutely beautiful, and I can't really wait to see the sequel. The trailer was fairly short, but definitely very much on the same frequency as the original game, and that's coming out soon. And Fable, we've seen a trailer that opened the whole showcase, and can't get better than that. It's just absolutely phenomenal. Avowed, another game that is hugely anticipated, coming from Obsidian, and you know, one of the best game creators, game makers, game developers of today. Clockwork Revolution, huge controversy attached to the trailer, because it looks very much like Bioshock Infinite, but you know, I'm very, very excited about what I've seen. I want to see what type of story is going to come out of the title, and what types of activities we are going to be having out there. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is astonishingly good, as is the rest of the game. And if you've not played it, you absolutely must. If you're not a fan of sim games, you know, simulator games generally, that is the game you need to be having a look at. It's really absolutely amazing, beautiful. They do not have every single town on the planet covered, but they are just building up the quantity of DLCs that are being delivered, and the DLCs that are covering certain parts of the world. And they're very, very interesting. I mean, try to think, somebody who lives in London or Berlin, and you fly over the city, you can see every single detail. It's just absolutely extraordinary. So definitely worth a shot. Then 33 Immortals, we've seen. This is the game from the creators of Spiritfarer, and it's not touchy-feely like the previous game, but it is a bit like Diablo, so very excited about it as well. 33 Immortals, that is. Day 1, release on the Game Pass. Payday 3, you played a shooter. In this trailer that we watched, to me it looked like the section of Michael Mann's film Heat. There's a bank robbery being done and something goes wrong, and then there's a major firefight breaking out everywhere as the police are chasing the robbers. And it looked really high-octane stuff, looked like very, very feisty, with a lot of shooting, a lot of activity, and I'm excited about it. So that's going to come out very soon. I think it's in about a month. Towerborn, another game that everyone was excited about, coming out on day 1. South of Midnight as well. Persona 3 Reload, Persona 5 Tactica, Still Wakes the Deep, and then Dungeons of Hinterberg, and then Just Ant. I think Just Ant is certainly the game that everyone is hugely anticipating, and there's huge excitement about it. Another RPG with wonderful explorative open world. So as you could see, we have quite a number. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 3, it's 18 games. So that's 18 games. The vast majority of them are, you know, fairly big, if not AAA blockbusters, definitely the top, you know, the top quality products, and they are all coming out within the next year. Oh, I've got the dates in here. I nearly missed out on this. Well, I'm actually wrong, and I think I was thinking of another racing game that was introduced by Ubisoft, and the Forza Motorsport will come out on October the 10th, so it will be coming out just over a month after Starfield. For Senua, they've not confirmed the date. Starfield is September the 6th, and then Clockwork Revolution, we don't have the date, and then we have Payday 3, September the 21st. And yeah, as you can see, they're really sort of trying to angle any heavyweight to be released after Starfield, which is what we were expecting. So if you are interested, you can subscribe, or indeed, if you want to be getting some freebies through Xbox Live Gold, you will be getting them every single month, 4 of them. That is also if you are a subscriber. And then on the other hand, every single weekend you're getting some free games as well, which are definitely worth trying. So that's what you get on Xbox. But on the other hand, I've heard some really good news coming out of PlayStation, and there are introducing 19 new games in June. You would have seen that with PlayStation Plus, the policy is to rotate lots of games, so they're rotating a lot more than Xbox Game Pass, and you have to be playing more and more, and you'll gain some gamer points, and they've got the new system through which you can then exchange that for certain kinds of goodies. The games keep disappearing quite fast, so make sure that indeed you have a look at them before they disappeared, because obviously that's part and parcel of your subscription. And the games that they're talking about at the moment, so that is coming in within the next couple of weeks. Some of them already came out. Tell you the games, just bear with me. There we are. We have, first of all, the game I'm really excited about, and I really want to play because I've not purchased it. I played it 3 times on the Xbox Weekend freebie. It's a massive big game. It's very hard to complete within 2 or 3 days, and well, it's absolutely impossible to complete it within a weekend. Is Far Cry 6. I'm a huge fan of Far Cry series. I played all of them, and each game is providing you with something new, yet based on the same concept. And Far Cry 6 is exactly like that. There's this sort of revolution taking place in an imaginary state in South America, and then you play this girl who is the leader of the revolution, and she needs to have enough power, enough ability, and wisdom to attack and destroy the dictatorship, which is causing mayhem in that imaginary state. And the old style system of Far Cry is there, which is as good as always. A lot of fighting, a lot of different tasks, lots of side quests, plenty of dialogue. I have to say, Ubisoft is one of my favorite developers. I just love the consistency to which they release such games. It's extraordinary, and it's a large number of titles. You think of the series going back to Splinter Cell, everything that came our way to today. The games like Far Cry series, then Ghost Recon series, then all the other ones. Now we have also with Star Wars coming out very soon. Star Wars Outlaws. The list just goes on and on. But what I like about Ubisoft is you've got the same system which is constantly being developed. There's always that degree of evolution. So you're coming into a game having the foundation which is well known to you, and then you just progress to other areas where you're discovering the novelties, and that's just fantastic. Because jumping into a game where everything is new is never as enjoyable as the one which feels familiar yet comes across as different. So Far Cry 6 is the biggest one, and that's already been introduced, so that's June 2023. Then we have Shredder's Revenge, which is the installment of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, another very funny game, and definitely highly recommended. Rogue Legacy 2, I definitely want to try this as well. Inscription, Solstice, Tacoma. Then a game I really like is Deus Ex, and that is Mankind Divided. It's the second game, and I think they're offering it on a premium edition. A very good RPG, a lot of different options to talk to many different characters, many different endings, and just generally some very enjoyable type of RPG gameplay. If you've not played it, you've got to. And also you may wish to revisit the old original game called Deus Ex that was released on 360 and on PlayStation 3, I think it is. Or is it PlayStation 2? Yeah, no, my memory fails me. We go back a long way with the original title. Killing Floor 2 is a shooter, and definitely very enjoyable if you like the Zombie Z recently, or the World Z. And what was it called? Zombie Army I played recently. It was a very good game. It was just the very best of that sort of zombie fest style type of activity. Redout 2, Thief. Thief is a very good game. It's being reintroduced. Then you have MX vs ATV Legends, Paw Patrol Mighty Pups, Save Adventure Bay. A very good game, highly recommend to everyone, and it's very enjoyable, similar to Spiritfarer in terms of touchy-feely, very good feeling game, is My Friend Peppa Pig. For anyone who watches a cartoon on TV, this is just wonderful. It's a truly delightful game, and you will have a lot of fun playing it. Lots of funny dialogue, just generally very enjoyable. I played it on Xbox and really enjoyed it. So definitely, if you're on PlayStation Plus, make sure you try it. Then you have DC League of Super Pets. You have the Talos Principle. Talos Principle, definitely a very good game and interesting. And then LX2. So you could see this is quite a selection. The only thing that we've got there with some of the new inclusions, like for instance Solstice, is the game that can be played only on the new console. So you can't play it on PS4, and I think that is likely to be happening with some of the new titles in the near future. We've heard yesterday that Xbox had decided not to provide any more new titles that are backward compatible to the old console, and I think that may be just temporary because we can play on the new consoles the old gen games. So I'm not sure what the issue is. Probably it is a form of marketing trick in order to coerce people into purchasing the games for the new console. But as we've seen, the backward compatibility has been one of the greatest assets of the console, of the Xbox, and I can play the vast majority of the titles. They did say in the past they'll make every single title backward compatible, and they've not done that yet. We still have about 30% that are not. For instance, one of my favorite games on 360 is L.A. Noire, produced by Rockstar, and the game that failed on release, but is incredibly vast, and the game that combines the elements of GTA and Mafia, and it's just really, really very immersive, with intriguing story full of detectives and investigations, and you are the detective that's investigating people. You need to be determining people are telling the truth or lying. They were using a special engine at the time in order to produce facial expressions that would indicate whether people are telling the truth or not, and apparently caused the bankruptcy of the firm that created the whole thing, sadly. But at the end of the day, the game is still very expensive if you were to purchase it for your next-gen console, and the game is not backward compatible. I purchased it in my CX a little while back because some of my games are at another location in the country, and I bought it because it had like a special edition, had a few bits and pieces in the box that I quite liked, that collectible. I said, okay, I'll just try it, just like a one-off, to see whether it's still as good as always. And they wouldn't play. It told me this game is not backward compatible. So I looked it up on the net. It says, yeah, actually, it's not backward compatible. So the story linked to Xbox now not offering the new titles to be backward compatible is a bit baffling. I don't understand what the idea is. And I think, well, the only thing I can think of is they want people to buy the new game and later it will become backward compatible. There can't be anything else, because they will not go back on the promise or the service which is making it possible for you to use every one of the discs that you bought over the years. Obviously, it is easier to buy and download the old games because they will be fully integrated within your digital catalog, and you're not required to be taking those discs with you if you go to a friend or another country. It makes it a lot easier, and they actually could have provided the facility through which you can download these games if you are the legal owner of those discs. It's certainly a possibility, but we have to play it by ear anyway. So this is what we are getting on PlayStation, and PlayStation Plus Premium is giving us 3 extra titles, and that is Killzone Liberation, which is a massive shooter. If you like shooters, you will like that one. If you're playing Warzone, you'll be keen. And then you have Worms, which is one of those very, very popular games as well, the original PS1 game. And then you have also Hershey's Adventures, another old PlayStation 1 game. They really realized that there are lots of people who want to be revisiting the old titles from the 90s on PS1, like Siphon Filter, for instance, I mentioned, or Dino Crisis or any other. We don't have the original Silent Hill on the service as yet, so just keep this in mind. Probably will come in due course, but not there yet. And there are also people who belong to the younger generation who have never played these games, and then having them on the subscription service, they've heard about these games through podcasts or anything else that they've come across online. So it's an ideal opportunity. I have to say, I did play Siphon Filter and it didn't really look too good. It's not been properly remastered or converted for the next gen usage, so it looks a bit ropey, but still highly playable, and you get the experience as it was then. The first thing you notice, it's not really geared for widescreen TVs, so that's the first big difference. And then sometimes feels a bit, well, I hope that there is going to be a full remaster of Siphon Filter or any of those games. So that, we've seen GoldenEye, for instance, being done up, and GoldenEye is accessible now through the Game Pass. It looks reasonably well. It was originally released on Nintendo. Anyway, so I told you the news. So this is all the details, and I'm trying to think if there was anything else. These are the big ones. We have a lot of attention given to Arcane Studios of late because of the failure with Redfall, and the concern is that perhaps something's happened at the studio since they became part of the Xbox Bethesda umbrella, and the new game significantly worse compared to the old titles. You will remember the Deathloop and Dishonored. I think Dishonored is probably superior to Deathloop. I played Deathloop a bit. I can't say that I'm really very knowledgeable in the game, but it's very enjoyable, and what connected with me was versatility that it just had. It's an enjoyable shooter, right? And the new one is everything but. So we need to see what happens. I told you yesterday the update for Redfall had been launched this week. It's changing the game radically. Lots of really different types of content are being introduced, and the technical issues are being eradicated according to Arcane. But I'm curious about the other thing that's been said, and they did indicate early in the week they'll carry on producing the new content. They will try to improve the game as much as they can. Well, I'm curious about this. I'm curious to see what this improvement is going to be and what types of benefits that will give to us as the gamers who are entering the game on day one. So, watch the space for more news on Redfall, and indeed, if you are doing the game, hammering it, just ping me a message and tell me what differences you can spot and find, and I'll be very, very glad to respond and to learn from you, because I was very disappointed on day one, and I played the game for about a week, and just too many problems and too many disappointments, literally on every single corner of Redfall. Redfall being the town that you fight your battles in. Every single corner had a disappointment in every way imaginable. So I didn't give up on the game. I'll play it again, but it's interesting, and it's certainly rewarding to see that Arcane have taken these comments on board, and obviously they realized due to the failure there's going to be that big hatchet coming from Microsoft, and they don't want to lose the support. So what else did we see? A lot of hoo-ha about the new Spider-Man 2. We've seen a couple of clips and some gameplay during the convention, the Summer Game Festival that is, and huge hype everywhere about this. And it's interesting because they've really tied in the release of the game with the new film that's just come out, and let's see what happens next. The first game was a masterpiece, and let's hope that the next one is going to living up to its potential. A lot of discussion about Diablo 4 as it's expected, the most popular AAA blockbuster heavyweight that's come out recently, and I think everyone's enjoying it, and people are sort of sometimes a bit displeased with some of the bosses or some of the activities that they need to go through, but overall experience has been overwhelmingly positive, and I'd say that response from the community has been excellent. So very, very different to the launch of Diablo 3, which indeed was raising many eyebrows and was considered to be extremely unsuccessful compared to the previous two installments. You have loads of PC games presently discounted, so if you're interested, just go to Steam and have a look. They indicated on GameSpot, I guess that's for the American market, that 5,400 games are being discounted, so 5,400 games, and take advantage of this. And also, if you are a PC gamer, what you do want to do is you want to go to Good Old Games, GOG.com. This is a company that is aligned or even owned by CD Red, the company that produced The Witcher and Cyberpunk. And the idea originally was, because they were huge fans of the old retro PC games, to purchase the rights for any of the games released in the 90s. So all the PC 90s games are on that website, and you can purchase them literally for shillings and pence. And I purchased quite a lot. Not recently, since I was a streamer, but prior to that, I purchased quite a number, and they also give you lots of freebies. And you need to be regular, a bit like with Epic. You need to revisit every week and see what's on offer and what games you're getting for free, what you want to buy. And they've got like a beautifully designed inbuilt library. The library that is giving you the shelf with all the games. So it looks absolutely fantastic. It's just really, you can tell people running the website are the huge fans of gaming and they're really kind of visualizing their own experience of it. That probably stretches more than 20-30 years, and it's so beautifully captured. You feel, you're walking into that video library, and you want to be picking up one of those games, and you have them on a shelf. You can just pick up from the shelf, click, and you play. In fact, with my new laptop that I received yesterday, I'll be revisiting the games that I absolutely adore, and I'll tell you what the games are. It's Black Dahlia, it's Ripper. These are the games from Take-Two. Then I'll be revisiting Tex Murphy series. That's one of my favorite series of the 90s. I would be revisiting Gabriel Knight trilogy. Absolutely love it, number 1 and number 2. I'll be revisiting early SWAT. I'll be revisiting Police Quest. So there's quite a list of games which I played at a time that I want to have a look at, and I would actually invite and advise everyone to do exactly the same. Just remember, GOG.com, that's golden, stands for Golden Old Games. Very, very cheap, and all the games are patched for the use of present day and age computers. You can play all of them on your laptops. They will not overheat. They don't use a lot of processing power, and they all look really absolutely great. I forgot to mention the game I really want to play there is Neverwinter. Neverwinter I've not played on consoles. It was a PC game that I really like. The game that's very similar to Mass Effect in its concept, yet it's delivered in an environment that resembles Elder Scrolls. So remember that, Neverwinter. Neverwinter Nights, absolutely terrific. It's one of those, I guess, most highly acclaimed games of that type that would have come out on PC quite a few years back. Got some recommendations on my Twitter about what are the best books to read on video gaming, and I was very delighted to discover the article today. Anyway, I want to tell you, are you following me on Twitter or not? On Twitter I have daily news, so you get all the best curated news coming from the industry every single day, and you don't have to be looking at other websites and Instagrams and Twitters and Facebooks of this world, or TikToks. You can get them all on my Twitter, and they're every day, the best ones. I go through the news when I wake up every single day, and I do this news, and you can get all the information on my Twitter. Just if you're interested, if you're a gamer, and if you want to be kept fully abreast on what's happening out there, follow. Basically, click on follow and be there. The news I got today was on the books written on video gaming, and I'm really excited, because very rarely did I come across an article, a website, or any form of information indicating what are the best books written on video gaming. So let's have a look. I've not even read the article today. Curious to see what this is about. We have 10 best books on video games indicated here, and let me see, what are the books? Well, they have one book called Blood, Sweat and Pixels, the triumphant, turbulent stories behind how video games are made. Well, it's been written by Jason Schreier, and this is a writer who I'm not that keen of, I have got to admit, because he is usually presenting you the news which look like whistleblowing, and throwing some sort of they're exposing some scandals within certain sections of the industry. He was very prominent when he wrote about mismanagement at certain companies, and then, without going into detail, I'm not that keen on him, and that's the book called Blood, Sweat and Pixels, and he talked about triumphant, turbulent stories behind how video games are made. So I believe he probably will be resorting to the turbulence more than other stories. And this is, the book goes into the crunch hours, bugs, burnout, tight schedules, and more, and they're related to the games like Dragon Age Inquisition, Stardew Valley, and Destiny. Well, maybe worth then having a look to see what he is indeed indicating that's been happening at Bungie. Then we have Game Over, Press Start to Continue. So that is David Sheff's book, apparently originally published in 1993, and this has been updated to the 21st century. So definitely interesting. Got Super Mario in there at the front of the book, I mean on the covered book. Then we have Service Games, The Rise and Fall of Sega. So that's Sam Pettis, who wrote Sega history book, and he goes back to the 50s. And then he is transporting to the 90s, and then obviously describing what's been happening ever since. And the book was published in 2012, but I think they have updated it. Console Wars, I have seen the book, and this is Blake J. Harris's book, and that tells the story of the Sega Nintendo console wars from the perspective of then Sega of America CEO Tom Kalinske. A lot of it will be dedicated to Sonic the Hedgehog and all that's been related to the game. Masters of Doom, look at that. How two guys created an empire and transformed pop culture. Sounds like oh, it's David Kushner. Okay. Yeah. So that's interesting. That will be a book on ID Software and the creators of Doom. So they'll be also looking at some other games that the company produced. I guess all to do with the Doom being one of the biggest, the most successful series in history of video gaming. Not really played the last one extensively, got to admit, but it had very, very good reviews. Jacked, the Outlaw Story of Grand Theft Auto. So there is a mini-series of Masters of Doom in the works, but it says here, just a minute, that is the BBC beat them to the punch in 2015 with the Game Changers, largely inspired by Kushner's Jacked, the Outlaw Story of Grand Theft Auto. So that book, hang on a minute, is that a book or is it a film? It's a book. It says limited only by Rockstar, being more closed up than Romero. Hang on a minute, I'm not really familiar with this. Well, I wanted to introduce the titles. I've not really read the article before because I just read it. I've spotted it before my broadcast, and that looks like an interesting book. In any case, it's all aligned to the story of how the Grand Theft Auto game was created, because a very popular game, a huge series, and definitely worth a look. The games that weren't. So they say that for every game that makes it onto shelves and hard drives, there are many more that were abandoned mid-production. So have the whole selection there, and there will be the games, I think, linked to Commodore 64. That was the game that wasn't. So that goes back in time. What happened to the Game Boy Color port of Resident Evil? Or Opa Space Harry inspired pseudo 3D sequel, Super Fantasy Zone. So that's interesting. So all of that is being questioned in that book, the games that weren't. Then you replay the history of video games. Well, I'm interested in that. There aren't many books on history of video games. I'm very interested because I'm like a video game historian myself, and I'm very, very curious to see what information we are going to be getting retrospectively. Is it going to be in a chronological order? Is it going to be just dedicated to certain publishers and studios? We'll have to see. So that's interesting. I really want to pencil it for my future interest as well. And they say that Tristan Donovan wrote this book, and he spoke to over 140 developers and industry insights to chronicle the medium evolution worldwide. So he says the stories behind the rise of gaming in North America and Japan join less trodden ground like the European scene and the different cultural and financial factors that went into game development. It's a fascinating read and leaves no stone unturned. Well, actually, that's probably the most interesting title from the lot. There are 10 books he introduced, and number 3, Replay the History of Video Games, is certainly on the top of my list. The Queer Games Avant-Garde. So that's, I guess, the book dedicated to LGBT community and exploring it. So it says there are 22 games that they're exploring in there. They include AC, and then just a minute, there's Gender Wrecked, The Land Untouched by Evil, Halo. So there's a few games mentioned in here. And then number 1, another game that I'd be very interested in, is called Extra Lives, Why Video Games Matter. So they say, why does artistic expression matter in a video game at all? Well, it does matter tremendously. I can give you at least 50 reasons. They're just games. Are they even art at all? Well, video games will overtake the graphic arts altogether, and we'll have museums dedicated to games and the artists in no time. It's the most popular form of graphic design and graphic arts of today. There isn't anything else that can even closely come to the quantity of work that's being put into games creation, and the number of people that work in this industry is absolutely phenomenal. Think of all the graphic designers and artists that otherwise would be living in squats and being unemployed. It's mind-boggling that such questions should be asked. This was on Game Rant, the article, and they say anyone who thinks that way or another should definitely read Tom Bissell's Extra Lives: Why Video Games Matter to Expand the Horizon. He describes the evolution and importance of the medium, how it tackles combining narrative with gameplay, and how effective games like Braid and Mass Effect were handling that. Well, they're handling that very, very well. And the book is ultimately in defense of video games. Well, we want to say that. We don't want to have contentious books that are making unreasonable statements and definitely sending lots of misleading opinions into the crowd. But also they said that Bissell presents in an impartial, open discussion that's approachable for all readers, opening up the questions about the future of video gaming as well. So I think for myself, I've given you 10 titles. Extra Lives: Why Video Games Matter, written by Tom Bissell, is definitely the one that I'm interested in. And then we have the other, written by Tristan Donovan, and the book called Replay the History of Video Games. So I'll do is I'll single out both books and I'll put them on Instagram and on Twitter, so you will be able to have a look at the details. You'll be able to get to know more about what's in the books, and if you're interested, just order them on Amazon or any other outlet which is out there. Alright, so I think I've got some other bits of news, but nothing is really as great or significant. Oh, there's one bit actually I want to tell you. I was wondering what was the most hotly anticipated game through the event of Summer Game Festival last weekend, and the most anticipated playable indie game. So that's obviously not the heavyweights. The heavyweights is Starfield and Star Wars Outlaws, but the indie game that everybody wants to see is Cocoon. So I'm very, very curious about what the game's going to be like, and I can't wait to see it. The other thing that indeed has been, well, two bits of news still to basically wrap up the news section here. Anyone who is a huge fan of Mass Effect will tell you that what happened this week with BioWare launching a kind of a statue of Captain Shepard, Commander Shepard, who is dead. It was just complete fluke, a complete mistake. Also incredibly disrespectful, both to the character and the fans. And the whole thing has been raised on Reddit and Twitter. And I think the developer is now having second thoughts, and they are seriously apologizing to everyone. They thought this was just like shot in the dark, but somebody obviously had not thought it through. It is evident that if you are doing something of that sort, you will be upsetting very many people. It doesn't matter whether it's Commander Shepard or anyone else. There has to be some degree of respect towards people who had passed away, and that is not the way to do it. They actually wanted to make it as a brand new collectible, and they were selling it for, or attempting to sell it for, $135. So apparently that's female Shepard, and that indeed did get a lot of negative reviews and comments. And they said the statue was intended to be part of a series commemorating some of the key and most emotional moments of the series. The way we announced it did not convey this properly, nor does it give the moment in the series the credit it deserves. And they said, as a result, we'll be pausing sales on the statue, which means they're withdrawing it from circulation until we can share the larger plan with you. If you're able to secure a pre-order for this, we will unfortunately have to cancel it until the proper launch, and then obviously we will be refunding you. So you could see that what I said earlier about our community and the community of gamers worldwide having a huge impact is and having power is definitely visible in these sorts of situations, because the developers and the publishers are paying attention. They are very, very careful about what responses they will be receiving in respect of major decisions, and as the time goes by, no longer are they able to hold a kind of monopoly and dictatorship, which has been the case maybe 20 years ago, because they could be completely ruined overnight by the certain actions coming from the community. People can take, for instance, with Destiny, if Bungie were not listening to the community and not adjusting what they're offering every single time, every season and every few months, then you would see a huge departure of the participants, and because they would feel ignored, not listened to, they would feel that they were paying the money for nothing, and then the company will bankrupt. It's all about the number of users. They have live service, and they'll be looking at how many people are using the service every single day, and how many participants are streaming the game on YouTube and on Twitch, and how many interactions there are. So if there's a significant 30 to 60% drop, that means the game's gone, and the company's gone as well. They've got to listen to what people say. So just remember, the gaming communities worldwide have got a significant amount of power, and we have got to be able to use that power for us as a force of good. So that's most important, right? We are going to be doing something that will be giving us something that will provide us or those people who live around us with a benefit. Okay, the last bit of information is about the beloved Skyrim Granny. Skyrim Granny is called Shirley Curry, and if you are a huge fan of Elder Scrolls, you will be more than familiar with the fact that she is a global sensation. So she's an older lady who's playing Skyrim and streaming it as well. And there was a lot of speculation after we watched that presentation of Starfield that she is in Starfield right at the beginning. There's an older person in there. I even heard people from IGN and Xbox asking questions whether this is Shirley Curry, whether this is the famous Skyrim Granny. And she went live on air today to confirm that she isn't in the game at the moment, and that she is going to be indeed present in various DLCs or gameplay of Elder Scrolls Online. And we need to see. She may not be there at the minute, but there's certainly a possibility that in due course she will join, or there will be a character who really looks very much like her, although she may deny this. And I think what we've seen in the trailer or in the gameplay or whatever, in the presentation, was pointing fingers and certainly indicating that perhaps this was indeed her, or this was a reference to her. That's all the news. Well, I've talked quite a bit now. I've told you all about it for about 2 hours, and I need to take a very short break, and then I need to have a cup of tea in here, which is waiting for me nicely, warmly, and a small snack. And after that, we are going to be cracking on with Destiny, and we'll do maybe Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 together here on PlayStation. So have a cup of tea, get ready for a lot more fierce action with our community when I get back. See you shortly. Alright friends, I'm back. I had a cup of tea, had a biscuit, and I had a snack. Hopefully everybody else is doing something similar, and now we are ready for a lot more action here in Destiny. So let's just crack on without further ado, and we'll be doing our hunter as usual. We'll start with some Siva strikes. If you were here with us yesterday, Poo had joined us, and we were able to complete the weekly Nightfall strike. Just bear with me, I just need to see something here. Just want to make sure that we are here on the invitations. So we were doing several Pinnacle activities yesterday. One of those was our weekly Nightfall strike, which was successfully completed with some difficulty. As we've not played the strike with Omnigul for some time here in Destiny 1, so we struggled a bit. We were doing it as a two-piece as well, and the strike was quite difficult. And then we also did complete Prison of Elders. That was really very enjoyable, as lots of our friends like watching Prison of Elders, and it's one of those activities that I actually seldom engage with here in Destiny 1, and I've heard from various participants that they want to see more of it, so therefore we've gone there twice this week. I think initially we'll just do Siva strikes, and I need to double check whether there are any bounties. One I completed, I picked it up yesterday, and the other ones, I didn't really complete the Prison of Elders ones, so this is Nightfall within the actual timing. We were obviously struggling a bit, and we did run out of time. And then what is this? Sivas with primary medals and secondary medals. Alright, so we can do this. I think before departing we'll go to the reef to get some bounties. If you ask yourself, why is he going to the reef and not to the tower? Well, the answer is very, very simple. We can't get to the tower due to that baboon glitch. Baboon glitch is asking us that we need to reload the game. I have no idea what the reason for that is, and instead of going to the tower, we'll go to the reef and pick up some bounties and do some admin in there, which is also possible. Tower being our favorite HQ spot, and after we completed a few activities, guess what? We are given a free ticket to get back in. There's no difficulty anymore in accessing it. That glitch called baboon then simply disappears. The bounties should be here with our friends. Berg.
Signal to Xander 9940 is open. Confirming.
Oh, it's just one. Alright, it's fine. We don't need anything extra. Double check what's here with our Postmaster. I didn't do any admin yesterday at the end, I don't think. Let me see. We got some engrams. Alright, so we'll do this. Generally, yeah, I was using Thorn yesterday because it does need leveling up, and Thorn is going up, as you could see, slowly but surely. A very good hand cannon, really very useful. And then in here, well, I don't have anything else which is non-exotic. We'll see. We'll play it by ear, and we'll see what enemies we get, because obviously we can just swap weapons. We can go for Imago Loop instead, and then we'll pitch in Dark Drinker, which obviously is one of my favourite weapons. Super good advice, Thunderlord. Sleeper Simulant, yeah. Sleeper Simulant is also absolutely terrific. A very, very powerful fusion rifle. So if you're a Destiny 1 gamer and you're not in possession of this weapon, make sure you do that exotic weapon quest and have it, because this incredibly powerful fusion rifle could be providing you with literally one shot, one kill on the boss, and that's very, very important to have in inventory. Right, so we've got Kepri's thing. Are we progressing with Kepri? We are, okay. picked it up yesterday after nightfall. I actually picked up 2 Kefris. I never had it before, and then at once I was given the 2 of them. So that was mysterious, but you know, always greatly appreciated. I do want to be having some of it. And what's this? Void Catalyst, Void Precision Kills. Yeah, that's not fully charged. Increasing Intellect, Void Catalyst, Detail Radar. So that is always useful. Radar persists when sighting with primary weapons. Fallen Piercer. Also can have a chance to generate orb. Okay. Remember, these artifacts are very important in Destiny 1, and particularly if you want to be producing orbs. Remember, orbs are recharging your super, so they're very important for yourself and your team. The more orbs you find dropped in there, greater it will be the speed at which you will recharge your super. Super is very important with the bosses in pinnacle activities. And carefully choose it, because some bosses are more receptive to Void or Arc or Solar, depending on depending on what the weakness is. Right, so that's all sorted, and I think we just quickly go to Master Ives to see something. I think that looks like our internet connection is not really as good as it should be, but it's the best possible. This is dropping a bit, don't know why. It's very good yesterday.
You must be a hunter.
Could be because it's Saturday, and I live in the town centre, so many people might be using 4G network. That's obviously a possibility. Silento, no use. Might of Light would be okay. Sinalampri. But yesterday we talked about Xur, and we talked about the fact that he is extremely important here if you want to get exotics. Xur is this weekend at the tower, so we'll go and meet him, and we are going to be trying to get some of those exotics. So remember that. Unlike in the sequel, where he's easily available and he's not dishing out the same goodies, in here he is fundamental to you acquiring certain types of exotic weapons, and there are obviously different things on offer every single week. Remember to discard everything and anything that is of no use. Never ever keep any of this in your inventory unless you are just right at the beginning of Destiny, where the blues and greens are best used as the weapons that are being infused with any other, like exotics or legendaries, and then you can be leveling up more rapidly. And it's very grindy, it's very arduous, it does take a bit of time, so remember that it's important to have that system which I talked about, have it on paper, how you want to do your battles, how you want to operate here in Destiny, because if you don't have a system, you will lose a lot of time trying out to figure how things work, and that's not always the very best. So that's all sorted. I think I'm happy with my loadout. Yeah, I am. And then we'll just depart. We'll go to the Sealers. And we do this always. We come here, have a look at the view. There aren't that many people in here. Okay. Obviously, the vast majority of people don't come here, they go to the tower. And there we are. Look at me, I'm like smoking hot. Did you see that? And I want to put another mask on. Let me see what I picked it up yesterday. We had that onion Halloween mask. Wonder whether this would work today. That's in your inventory. Oh no, I used it, so I'm not having it anymore. Okay. What we'll do is we'll use reputation up for the Vanguard. So that's for a raid. Okay, that's for the Glimmer. Ether seeds. I would take all. He's got plenty of these. We need to use everything. It's obviously cluttering. Yeah, we used that yesterday. Well, that's still active. So if Sekapupa comes in, then maybe we'll do this. We'll see. We'll go to the Sievers. The modifiers here are airborne. So if we jump, we'll be able to do a lot more damage to the enemy. Fresh troops. Some enemy squads have been fortified with additional reinforcements. Then we have specialist weapon damages favored. That's specialist. Heroic. Enemies appear in greater numbers and are more aggressive. Well, they can be difficult, but we are not getting many people in on the random matchmaking, which is very disappointing. So, what can I tell you?
The Taken King is dead, yet still his armies writhe and claw at our worlds. Even as you led the assault on the Dreadnought, a powerful Taken war beast fled for the safety of the shrine to Oryx. The would-be Prince Malak works to perfect a dark sorcery. He must be destroyed.
Someone joined us. That's quite good and refreshing. Yeah, these guys have been eliminated, so that's pretty good.
Sealed door, high runes. You know what we need here? A tomb husk.
A tomb husk, of course, yeah. Pick it up. Needs to go in. Oh, we've got someone dead in there. Okay, that's all resolved, nice and easy. Loads of these activities like Sievers and Nightfalls are very much based on a team effort, so you've got to be having 3 people coming in and doing it together with us. It's fundamental. Otherwise it gets very difficult and then, you know, troubling. My Thorn will level up nicely, I think. It's just that it's actually reloading really slowly. That's the only trouble with it. Everything else seems to be working fine. Husk. We've got it. Okay. And that's it, I think. Yep. Still got one more. Okay. That worked, that's good. Yeah, husk. I want to pick it up. Hang on. I want to pick it up. Give it to me. Oh, he picked it up. He picked it up. Dark Shishkoi. Okay, just watch it. Oh no, I haven't got a grenade. Yeah, I've got it now. There's always lots of thralls in there, you see. Chuck a grenade in there. That sorts everyone out. I guess we've played this strike a few times this week, so it makes it a bit easier to know exactly what to do. But even if you played like this a million times, and let's say you're away for about a year, and then if you're an avid gamer, you'll forget all the ins and outs, you know, it's very easy. Oh, I jumped off. How is it? Oh, that's terrible. Thank you. So sorted everyone. No need to worry. Circle bombs.
The Taken exude blight wherever they go. Just one of the agonies of their existence. Malak has begun to control that blight, empowering it at his command.
Well,
So, now we know.
yeah, it's the snipers in here. I need to eliminate first of all. So there's one there, okay. There's another one left. Just lost my bearings for a second. And do you know why? Because I was looking at my secondary in here. Secondary display rather than a secondary weapon. Okay, supercharged. Run, 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 run. Let's run. No special ammunition.
Blight, Guardian. Locke's power is absolute here.
The Blight is the black goo, right? What is that stuff anyway?
Darkness, given form by Malak's cruel will.
Well, it's still there. That's ridiculous. Why was it still there? Look at him. It's not responding. This is too far. Oh, I didn't see that shield in there. That's annoying. Come on, get rid of him. My friend got shot there. No, where is my friend? I'm here. Some more ammunition for a heavy weapon. There. They're not eliminating this blight. Because they will respawn enemies. They can just respawn from his blights. Yeah, I go like a blue and blue. Yeah, that's right. That's what we need to be doing.
Beware, Guardian. The Blight will drain your strength, your speed. Do not let Malak dominate this shrine.
Oh, it's Malak. Alright, we've done this quite a few times last week. But, you know what? We need to change weapons now. We need to change weapons rapidly, quickly. Come on. Load, 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 load. So we need Imago Loop and we need Dark Drinker. And our friends could be using rockets if they want on the beast. Malak. Oh no, you got them. It was a bit slow there. I forgot about the the ads, and I got my Dark Drink out to deal with them. Come on, boys, res. Yeah, thank you. We'll get them. Friends coming there. Okay. Ah, I got killed now trying to revive our friends. Sorry, friends. Just unfortunate. Malak's powerful. Thank you. Haven't got any heavy ammunition. I'm not regaining any life. which is terrible. What can I do? Ah. Must have been infested or something. Ah. Jumping. Unfortunately, then I can't fire. No, I won't be able to go there. It's too close to the enemy. Maybe, we'll see. Oh, I did actually manage to. That's good. Yeah, we both got killed. It's too hot in there, there's too many enemies. Valor, this is how I call it, when you're trying to revive somebody and you get knocked out. No, don't bother, I'll resurface in a couple of seconds there. Okay. Yeah, I got hit by many different enemies. I've been playing safe, which is not unwise considering how we got killed after playing a bit more aggressively. So they are a good way. Still a bit more, still a bit more. He's gone. Okay.
We've taken back the shrine from the Taken. That they took through taking.
Without Malak to channel Taken energy here, the blight will abate.
Okay.
And Oryx's shrine will quiet. That is my dream, Guardian. The moon will
Skeleton
lie
key.
dead
How many have I
and
got?
still.
Probably just
Like the
one.
tomb it is.
So was no, I'm not gonna use it. It's the best loot from Nightfall Strikes. And well, we'll just stay with these chaps and we'll crack on with another saber. That's what we'll do. One of those has been completed. That is kills. Okay, that's good. Yeah, we don't have many of these. Have we got medals earned? Okay. Oh, memory of Galleon. We can upgrade the ideas, have everything masterwork. So remember, that's always the task. Oh, he's gone. All right, doesn't matter. We'll get somebody else. So upgrade. Void Catalyst. Void Precision kills against the minion of the darkness have a chance to generate an orb. Increase strength bonus. Increase intellect. Okay. Keep the intellect.
The Black Garden among us for long. Something has begun to revive.
Intellect is always helping a super to be recharged as quickly as possible. So very important to remember to use as much intellect as possible in Destiny 1, because super does make a huge difference if you're tackling some of the bosses and some of the larger, more powerful enemies there. It's annoying because we keep getting the same strikes all the time, as if there weren't any other ones, you know. Played this one so many times. Someone else has gone there before us, by the looks of it. What was this? He was one of the mightier yellow bar enemies, and I forgot that he wasn't just an ordinary ad. Lights need to be destroyed. Look at they're stuck in there. That's no fun. Well, that's been completed. That's good. I need a biscuit and a cup of tea. Get tired really if I do chemical activities. Curious, yeah, got it. I don't bother really much with these because I have so many synths and all of them need to be used. And they're going slightly the other way. We are not allowing them to breathe. Breathe. Sorted. Oh, it's going to be busy in here. I was cornered there by the looks of it. My dark drink actually eliminated them all. Thank you. There's another one in there. Ah, the shielded monster really are very, very powerful. Thank you. Yep. All sorted. Yeah, now I'm in a difficult position. No heavy ammunition, as you can see. You know what, we'll just take a synth. We'll hide in here. And then we have plenty of ammunition again. Just remember, these synths are very important in Destiny 1. Don't forget them. There we are. Trying to revive our friend and it is not working. Yeah, you need a rocket launcher for that, so not there. Okay, good. Good. All resolved. Got some extra ammunition in there. Anyone bothered? Or maybe not. Cool. Where's our friend gone? Up there. Aye. The Undying Mind, is it? Yes, it is. We'll need a good rocket launcher, but I'll keep my sword on just to deal with the ads, and then the boys could use the heavy artillery. Oh, look at them. Oh, that's a big one. I didn't see him. Mind you, he was hiding behind that monolith. Sweet. Actually, I will take my Kreuzer and then I'll have Shadow Price maybe. Bit better off. No, that's wrong. True. Can't yet. Okay. Nah, not here. Damage, is he? Oh, stuck in there. I'm stuck in there again. Oh, those two like sprang up just behind me. Boo, boo, boo. Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Oh, there we got some rockets. Got some rockets to this thing. He's not taking a lot of damage. Tell you what, put a sleeper simulant on, see where that's going to be better. Just a second. Couldn't get away quick enough. Thank you. No, I don't want to deal with the ads, I want to use my sleeper simulant on the boss. Missed. Yeah, it was the silliest thing to do, this was really. Come on, I need to pick up some heavy ammunition somewhere. If there's anything in there. Yeah, there is, okay. Now we'll go. One more and he's gone. Ah, something attacked me from behind. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Just need that one shot. I missed it. How is this possible? I missed it again. Or maybe I actually did hit him, but he didn't die. Thank you.
The Black Garden remains here among the light.
Strike Elite. I did manage to complete 2 bounties. Strike Elite and alright, Exaltation Mask, Legendary Marks, that's good. And then the other one, Lights of Light, okay. We really need strange coins, that's the priority. Okay, that's all completed, so we'll just crack on with the next one. Let's see what that is going to be, and then later we'll migrate to the sequel, because I've got plenty to do in there, and I've not really done much about story missions or anything this week, so that is going to be our next step. A bit of Destiny 1, a bit of Destiny 2, a nice spread for this lovely weekend of weather, which is not too hot here in my local area. It's fairly cool and refreshing. Hopefully we are going to be getting some rain as well. I definitely want to see some rain. Biscuit. I want to have a biscuit.
I'm tracking reports of fallen splicers spotted in and around the Hellmouth. Intel suggests they're hunting ogres. Get down there. Make sure they don't snatch up any more fodder for their twisted experiments. No time for sightseeing, you two. Hit the summoning pits before the Devil Splicers can grab any more abominations for their priests to play around with.
By play around, you mean torture, vivisect, and disembowel?
Well, yeah. But when you put it that way, I almost feel bad for the Hive.
So why the Hive? Seems like a dangerous fight to pick.
The Splicers are playing God.
Oh, you forgot to switch my mic on.
Life how they see fit.
Turn that
The
on.
Hive are just victims of the Splicers' willingness to push their curiosity.
Where are you going? Okay. Yeah, we need to dip into the vaults. Our friends are racing a bit, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I remember when I played this for the first time, I had a lot of difficulty with these machine guns up there. Turrets, whatever they're called. These are called shield regenerators, which is what I learned the other day. I always wondered what these constructions were called, but it's quite simple. You need to destroy them in order to prevent the bosses to have that major, mightily powerful shield. Yeah, that's silly servitor.
The lock's fighting me, like everything else the Hive made. Hold on.
Runes?
Pattern here is chaotic, but I think I figured it out. Just one more room to crack.
One more room to crack. Loads of ammunition in here. No heavy ammunition. Well, these splicer shanks are a real menace, you know, they're like yellow barred, they're quite hard to eliminate.
Rune's clear. We're through.
What I like about Destiny is that all the characters in there, they really get very energetic and erratic and fast when they have to get to certain doors. I find it always really highly entertaining. Come on. I can't believe it. It's like red bar and okay. Just remember this shadow shot is the perk which is giving you the ability to do it 3 times in a row. So you have lots of enemies. Just try to direct it at 2 or 3 different positions, because any other enemies that come in will be glued, and that will help the team to eliminate them. I guess there are lots of tips and tricks one can learn in Destiny. Irrespective of how long you play the game, it becomes quite secondary, quite unimportant. Yeah, who's there? Hang on. Kind of our friends were being hit. Oh, I see. Okay. Well, that's definitely a very good idea. Oh, yeah, these ones are very deadly. I was hit by them several times. Guess what? But not today. Not there. Chap jumped in there. I want to pick up these materials, of course. Ammunition. Yeah, that's right. Very important to get rid of these shield regenerators.
We're going to have to find another way.
I don't care if you have to hitch a ride on a tomb ship, Guardian. I need you in those summoning pits.
It's running around there. Look at him. Surely. Yeah. Ah, that's beautiful. Beautiful. Got some heavy ammunition. Okay. Friend was hit. Okay. Good. Yeah, let's get on it.
Okay, we're doing this. We're really doing this?
Yeah, I was just about to do the same.
Get ready to abandon ship.
Well done, boys. Well done, boys.
They're already here.
Get in there, Guardian. Put the splicers down and end whatever monstrosity the Hive are conjuring.
Oh, he's there. Okay. I'll definitely need my dark drink up here. Had to chase me this side, alright? Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to do. That Scorch Cannon is reasonable. Ah, I'm gonna triple jump now. To eliminate the snipers, because otherwise we'll kill us all. Didn't do this successfully. Where's he gone? Ah, he was not gone. Yeah, the snipers we need to get first. Otherwise they'll get us, you know? They'll get us. Oh, he's there. Okay. What is going on? Look at this. Can't believe I could live. Yeah, that's right, he's gone.
Cracking the secrets of Hive bioweaponry. Combining what they learn with Siva's potential, that would give Displacers a whole new bag of tricks.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Yes, it does. Good thing you put a stop to it.
What did we complete, if anything? Not much, really. Medals. Primary streak, okay, that could stay with us for a while. Let me see something. We'll do another Siva and then we'll be migrating to the sequel because we want to do some of those weekly tasks in the sequel. So I'm really itching to do that because I was unable to complete some of it on whatever the day was, Wednesday, due to that glitch on Xbox. So that's what we'll do. Well, we probably can just go to upgrade. Ah, that is Caprice Sting. So that would be increased discipline. Very good. We definitely want this. And we have another engram. Didn't pick up a lot of. Exaltation Mask 400. Okay. This one we don't need. We'll get rid of that. Nearly there with memory. Fallen Piece is a good perk because you're getting then orbs. So we are nearly there with it. Just a bit more. Just a bit more. Not a lot. Back to the tower. To a bit of admin, and then we are migrating to Destiny 2. We want one big universe of Destiny to be present on the channel, Destiny 1 and Destiny 2, so remember, that is what we are all about, our Destiny universe. And we want to have a bit of both, and in the sequel that there are so many tasks and there are so many weekly chores and grinds and all sorts, and I did start out on the weekly mission, but I've not gone through it in full, so I need to probably repeat part of it. We want to do this on Wednesday, but there were some issues and problems with well, we have Muffin. Thank you so much, Muffin, for following the channel. Really appreciate it. Thank you for being our new community member. Hope you will enjoy what you'll see here with the days, weeks and months to follow. This is a dedicated Destiny community of gamers. Also, it is a channel that supports Gamers for Mental Health, and we support charitable campaigns. We are raising funds for a charity in Britain called Mind. The Mind charity provides services for people who are experiencing any form of emotional or mental health difficulty, and we are supporting them in all ways imaginable, from doing some PR, through promotions, running a fundraising campaign, connecting our community to that through milestones, quizzes, rewards and various other accolades, and you know, generally a channel that's dedicated to communication, social interactions and the works of everyone who is in our community. Basically, it is a community-based channel. We don't do any competitions as such, or we are not you know, geared towards esports or speed runs or anything of that sort. It's all about communication, and the channel's called Daniel Miller Gaming Dialogue, which tells you that we all talk here quite a bit. So thank you for joining us. Really great to see that Muffin is now our new community member. Wonderful. And we'll do a bit of admin just very quickly to empty out the unnecessary gear and loot that we picked up. We don't really need any of this, but you know, unlike in the sequel, in here we simply cannot be doing the quick admin. There are no shortcuts. We need to be picking things up and then discarding and then reloading, and so it takes a bit of time. It's a bit more picky than the sequel. Something wicked. Okay, so let's see, that's probably 390. That's something wicked. Or maybe it's 400, we'll see. 385. Yeah. The blue ones are 390 and the legendaries are 400. No, it's 390. Blast radius massive. Well, that looks like a pretty good rocket launch, I've got to say. Compare with Crota. Blast radius, a lot more significant. Velocity, more significant. Stability, more significant. Reload, well, it looks like rate of fire is a bit better on Crota. Well, we'll definitely start using this one, and we'll see whether will provide us some better targeting and the better elimination of the bosses. Because remember, the heavies, particularly the rocket launchers, are very effective against certain bosses. And so we have here belt leave, 245 and 390 picked up in one round. Cloak of the Cosmonaut. Okay, hang on. We got these. We don't really need any of those. Cinnamon is this Sinnoh Signer? Sinnoh, I think. Okay. Anything else? No. I go back to the Postmaster, sort out the rest. Sort out the rest. Husk of the Pit. We don't really need Husk of the Pit. We'll get rid of that Husk of the Pit. Rapid fire. Desiccated and highly inoperable, this high artifact still manages to send shivers up your spine when fired. It's one of those weapons you pick up early in the game when you're leveling up, and then it can be very useful. Let's see, do we have anything else? Let's see where we can put something in the vault. The vault needs sorting out, but I'm not doing it today. want to see some. Hang on. Darkblade Spite. I've got 2 of these. I don't need it. Darkblade Spite 400. Impact. Range. Yeah, same. To get rid of it, I don't really need it. Back to the vault. Another one. Okay, we don't need it either. It's very picky. It takes a while, and I'm not a fan of that. I've got to admit, I lose a lot of time doing it. The whale wounded. Devil, you know. Okay. Husk of the Pit is in there. Hang on, that's Warpath. Whale. Trying to work out where the rocket launcher is. This one. Devil's Dawn, that's not it. Doesn't matter, we'll put in a vault. No space for anything which is armor related. What was this one? Pulse rifle, Grasp of Malak. Malak. Okay. I don't want to store this one, I want to keep it, but I need to have one space available. Yeah, okay, I'll put then Crota in there. And we'll keep this one, so we'll just level it up bit by bit, because I've not used Something Wicked as much for a little while, and I thought Hunger of Crota was superior, but this one definitely looked much better, because obviously I'm swinging between Galahorn and another legendary rocket launcher. The reason for that is I usually have one of these two as exotics, primary or secondary, so you know, it's just basically when I'm using primary that is exotic, then obviously I can't have it here on the heavy, so the heavy needs to be one of those legendaries which is as good as possible. Played by ear. Alright, so that's probably it really as far as the admin is concerned, and we need to go to Lakshmi, I think, before we depart for Destiny 2. Everyone watching, just make sure you stay on the channel because I'm streaming off PlayStation 4, and when I swing to another game then the broadcast stops. But just remember, Xur, hang on, he's not here. How come he's not here? He should be here. Vanguard Quartermaster. Xur, I think Xur should be here. No, she won't have anything for us. We need to go to Lakshmi because we're increasing our reputation to our future occult faction.
Tell me what you've seen out there.
We'll go for weapon this time. The waiting, the whale, the waltz. To use all the weapons there that come together with the outfit. How much money have I got? Okay, materials. Ian Tracer vest, I've got that. Yeah, okay, that's fine. We don't need anything else from her. there, but still I can't see Xur there, because on Twitter they said that Xur should be here, and he's not.
Another war story? I was there when the House of Devils burned London.
50th May to someone else. What is going on? No, I've been part of his faction in the past. I want to go back to him anymore. No need. So that will be
Biological materials. Checking.
grasp of Malok, pulse rifle. No, there was something else, hang on. Ion Tracer 7048. Yeah, of course I've got better ones. As their master worked. They've got to be better. Engram. Okay, go back to Master of Hold, see what that is.
The Slayer of Oryx, then? A good weapon.
Slayer of Oryx, maybe. Radio.
May the next crisis be less messy.
Get rid of radio. Because once you reach the level 4400, then, you know, you're just after top-notch legendaries and exotics, nothing else. That's really the objective. And I know from some of our community members, people who are really proper completionists and collectors, they'll be you know, they'll be looking at every one. So grind up to the point where they get everything. And in here, you've got to be grinding if you want it. Take a nice screenshot of this. Looks beautiful, like a lovely sunset. Day and night cycle. As we usually look at the Traveller. The Traveller is this thing up there. The Traveller is the force that changed humanity. And it's the Traveller that the enemy, the darkness, is after, because they want to destroy the powers that Traveller gives to humanity. So that's the crux of the story, so to speak. And you know, watch this. Take another screenshot. I like really looking at the view. It always is beautiful, and I think it's hard to tell whether I prefer this one or the new tower in the sequel. But it's always like peaceful to sit in here and sit, in fact, and watch the view, and then enjoy the music and everything. Anyway, I think that's all from Destiny 1 for today. So thank you for watching this part of the stream. I'm going to be migrating to the sequel, which is Destiny 2, so please make sure that you stay with us, and we are going to be continuing more or less immediately. The stream will stop and it will restart, and that's the way it is with the consoles. I can't be switching from one game to another, because Twitch channels connect with categories, and we change category, and therefore the stream ends. So just make sure that you are rejoining us very, very shortly, and we'll carry on with a lot more activity. Tonight we can really stretch it on Saturday, and we can do this for next couple of hours in Destiny 2, the sequel. So stay with us. I'll be back literally in 30 seconds.